And
That's
now
good.
for part
And
two.
I do just want to just go back on something that you are was saying in regards to partnership, that you have to come together to basically create your own rules within your marriage. Because all of us, we grow up, whether it was with a single mom or your mom and dad were there in your life. And you have these examples before you. I'm just going to say you have examples, right before you, whether they're good examples or not so good examples. So it's kind of hard to disconnect yourself from that. Especially growing up when we grew up, sometimes moms were working, other times moms were not working because mom supposed to take care of the children and cook and clean, and daddy went to work. Well, this day and time when we got married, no, all of us, we all gonna work.
Everybody going to work.
Exactly. So with that, partnership is important because the fact is it always said that the woman has to cook? Does the man have to mow the lawn? I hope he would mow the lawn. But is it set in the rules and regulations that the man has to mow the lawn? No, it's about what works in your house. And I love that you said that. Bishop, you cook. Lady Iowa, you say, hey, well, I'm going to do these clothes. I'm going to take care of these boys. I'm going to get in where I fit in. Bishop said, I'm going to get in where. And that's what we have to do. You got to get in where you fit in. And you're not saying that you're neglecting what you've learned. You're just taking what you've learned, and it's like you're creating your own thing out of that. I'll take a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a little bit of this, and I'm going to make our marriage, or we are going to make our marriage. So that's good. I love that. I love that. So I do just want to kind of pivot just a little bit. And this is a two-part question that I have for you all. So with those of you all who are out there, for our audience members that are out there, who may be married, but they may be on the brink or the verge of getting a divorce, like they have gotten to this point, a divorce, a split. They somebody want to go back with mama, somebody say, hey, I'm gonna move in with daddy, whatever it may be. Somebody got to go about this house. And they have decided, like, okay, we've did this, but we know what God wants, and we want to come back together. We want to make this thing work. So what tips do you have for those people who may have separated, but they have decided that they want to come back together? So what do you have for them on improving their marriage? And then what are some of the things that they can work on with improving their marriage?
I think, one of the important things that you said, that they both decided to come back. And with that decision, having an understanding that it's hard work, that is great work, that needs to lay a new foundation, because obviously the old foundation just didn't work. And so now putting in boundaries and safeguards to have these elements to help rebuild a foundation of prayer, communication, therapy if necessary, because some people need therapy. Some people need to understand it wasn't your fault. It was what I went through. It was my history. It was my background. But sometimes you need somebody to sit down and listen to and help you dissect, and process what happened. So you have to be open to maybe bringing in that third party to say, hey, I'm willing to work with you both to do this work, to lay this new foundation. It has to be consistency. It has to be a newfound trust to now be able to say, I forgive you, but we're laying and building on this consistency so that we now can rebuild this trust and this honesty. And that takes work, because though you forgive, your brain don't forget.
Sure don't.
And sometimes you don't want to be convicted 2 times. I did it. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
And so every time I have a trigger, I can't go now and convict you a second time. I can't go back and say and convict you a fourth time because I've agreed that this is going to take work. I've agreed that we're now building these boundaries and this foundation of consistency and trust. So I'm gonna need you to do your part in helping me build that. And so again, that's where the work comes in and the decision to put in the work. And with that, again, it may have to bring in somebody else to say, hey, I'm going to work with you both to be able to get back to a healthy place, to get back to a place where, you know, you are having this new foundation of love, you know, and consistency and trust and honesty within your marriage. Because it can be done. It can be done, but it does take a lot of work.
Yes, it does.
For me, two things come to mind. One, if we're going to work to rebuild, then we have to reset expectations.
That's good.
We got to reset expectations. You know, how we started may not be where we are right now.
Yes.
And so if we're going to rebuild or if we're going to continue, then now there has to be a commitment to what is necessary now.
Yes. Yes.
You know, the best way I can communicate it is like this. You know, when we are first saying I do's and all of that stuff, you know, it's this ooey gooey, you know, what we saw on TV and all that kind of stuff. And then life happens.
Yeah.
And that you're at this place where you're trying to figure out, number one, how did we get here?
Yeah.
Number two, but this is the person that I want to die with.
Yeah.
So how do we fix it?
Yes.
So in resetting my expectations, Lady B said it best where I understand now that's gonna take work.
Yeah.
And with that work comes a level of commitment that I have to be willing to give if it's gonna work.
Yes.
Patience and compassion.
Absolutely. Where she can't be committed to rebuilding and I'm still on the fence about it.
Right.
You know, the commitment has to be from both of us where we're willing to put in the time, the effort, the energy, and all of those things, and being able to when you talk about resetting expectation, it's that element where forgiveness has to be in there. I'll never forget when early on in my pastorate, I had a couple who were an intricate part of our ministry who went through, at that time, they were going through a thing in their marriage and the spouse wanted the marriage, wanted it to work and all of that. And I was so closely involved with this group, I wanted to seek some wisdom from another pastor. And I'll never forget him. I went to this pastor and the pastor's first thing to me was, does this person want to remain in the marriage? And this is the person who the offense was done to.
Yeah.
That's that person who is on the receiving end of what broke the vows, want to remain in the marriage and want to remain long-term, not to see if we can work this out. Is there a desire to say, no, we're going to make this work? And I was like, well, based on what was communicated, absolutely yes. He said, well, then they have to choose to forgive and really forgive, where forgiveness is not you saying I forgive, but every time we got an issue, you taking me back to I took you back, so you better be glad I took you back. Where you know where we're not reliving and rehashing, because now it's really going to be a nightmare. Where forgiveness is saying that I forgive you, but from this point we've got to work at rebuilding something that was broken.
Yeah.
And that's more work, that's more intense time and all of that. And there's a level of investment that I think it's different from the one who did the offending.
Yeah.
Where that made me, okay, where at this point, what are you willing to do that helps to rebuild and regain that trust?
Yes.
Accountability,
transparency, absolutely. My second thing was that we okay, I can't talk right now, I'm sorry. We reset our expectations, but also I think one of the things that has to happen, because our generation, we're much more opinionated. We're much more strong-willed.
Mhm.
And so we got to establish ground rules.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How we
Yeah.
gonna do this? Because your toxic behavior ain't gonna help this.
Mm-mm.
And you're blowing up, and though you are hurt and legitimately, justifiably so, but
Mhm.
how you react and respond
Yeah.
while we're rebuilding can make this more difficult, or in some instances not possible.
Right.
That element of, what are going to be ground rules, because we're going to have heated discussions. That's a part of it. So at what point do we stop it where we are agreeing to disagree to this point, but
Yeah.
because we don't want to go to bed that way, how do we table this so we can pick it up later?
Yes.
This thing about you walk around the house and you ain't saying nothing to me. I say to people at the end of the day, I did not get married to sleep in another room. Ain't gonna happen.
Right. Right.
Ain't gonna happen. I ain't sleeping in another bed. I like my bed and my side of the bed. That's why I'm gonna sleep every night. Now the only way
Yeah.
you ain't gonna sleep in there at night is the fact you out of town.
Yeah.
So how do you manage that in those heated moments?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. No, that's
Where
good.
now we ain't got this awkward silence and you looking at me, rolling your eyes at me and doing all this other stuff, where it's actually the way the enemy ends up kind of getting in there and just kind of, digging around the wound. Because it is a wound. You're not ignoring the wound, but now we're just going to establish some ground rules. How do we move forward in this? I know you heard, but you can't keep saying that to me.
Yeah.
I know you mad, but now we don't do that. We don't do that. So being able to establish those kind of ground rules. And again, like we've been saying the whole conversation, it is different for everybody. Don't nobody
is.
bring perfection
It
to the
is.
marriage.
Not
Right.
Nobody nowhere.
Yeah.
And what works for one doesn't work for all. I like how Karen, Lady K said about how we grew up with all of these different examples in front of us. But we're in a different era now, so we have to be able to take the wisdom that benefits us and then
Yes.
evolve from it and all of that. So it's like, a lot of it has to do with the chemistry of your home, your makeup, your
Yes.
marriage, your family, and the element of your own individual background. But some of those things stem from your history, not our history. And we have to be able to know how to manage that so that your spouse is not paying for what your teenage girlfriend did to you.
Yeah. That's good.
What happened to you with your parents.
Yeah.
Yes.
What neglect you felt as a teenager, how you got bullied at school. So we
Yes.
have to be able to, because all of that can play out in marriage, especially if you're talking about trying to rebuild.
Right.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So those things have to be taken in consideration.
Everything then becomes a trigger,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But you know what? You guys have said something. I wanted to go back because I had a question, and I think this is the perfect time for me to insert that question. And we've kind of talked around it, but about communication. So I want you, Bishop and Lady Ira, to talk about this from your marriage perspective, and then to help other married couples. What are some effective communication techniques that couples can use to enhance understanding and to get a better connection? Because something you said, Lady Brackett, I really, really liked. You said you understand now when to bring something to Bishop, whether you're mad, you're sad, whatever it could be. Like, you know the tenor of your home. Like, it's not a good time, right? This is a good time. And I thought that was very wise. And so I would love to hear some communication techniques that couples can use to get a better understanding, to enhance their understanding, and then their connection.
For me, I'm very detailed. And as Bishop say, most men, he's not. He gonna, how was your day? Oh, I went down to the church and I had a busy day, sent some emails and it was wonderful. Whereas to me, I was on the expressway and I had ran into traffic. Then when I got to the church and then somebody rang the doorbell and then I had, sister so-and-so. So I'm very detailed. So I have to be, mindful not to project what I give on him. However, with that being said, just picking the right time to be heard. I think, and picking, and when he has his moments, to listen. Sometimes, case in point, we had an issue at the church with, putting in the boiler and the details of that. Well, Bishop was taking photos and videos, and you see, and do you see it? You see what he doing down there? Showing me this. I don't understand all these pipes and poles and wires, but it was important to him. So he showed me all of this stuff, but I chose to listen because in that moment, it was important to him as the head of the church, not to have people coming in there to me, what happened? So I had to choose in that moment to listen, even though it was something I was very disinterested in, because we're going to have heat. In Jesus' name, that was my take, in that moment. But it was, something that he was very involved in the process of making sure. And I understand, because I understand my husband. And so at that moment, I chose to listen. And the same thing, when something's bothering me, I have to be wise and okay. And he knows the look. He's like, honey, can we talk? And so and it's like, oh, okay, this one of them serious ones, so now he puts on his listening hat. We've learned over the years, okay, so this is what I'm hearing you say, so that the enemy doesn't get in and say, well, I ain't say that, but there's clear and understanding of what's being said, because I'm very detailed and he not. So I have to be like, so that's not what I said. That's what I heard. So you have to be clear in that communication. And, a lot of times we like to interject. We like to cut each other off. We like to, oh my God, that's something that we are working on, because while he's talking, I'm interrupting, like, wait, there. And he's like, honey, let me finish. Because now he's trying to give me details, but he's giving me details on the end. When I need you to start off, can we start off that way?
Right.
So that's not how I do it. So, so it's comical and it's funny, but sometimes it's frustrating because I'm trying to get to an end and you giving me, the beginning, and you starting the beginning at the end. So again, because of what I'm hearing and how I do it, I have to be sensitive, and knowing how he communicates is different than how I communicate, but learning to listen, learning to know when to listen and when to say, what needs to be said. And sometimes it has to be bathed in prayer, because sometimes I don't want to come in, hot and fiery. I don't want to come in hot, because sometimes, depending on what it is, I can come in hot. That's as women, I'm trying, hey, I got to get this done. I got to do the, and so I have to use wisdom in making sure he understands in a way that respects him as my husband, as a man, as my partner, that I'm not, going for the juggler.
Yeah, that's good.
And one of the things that she said that's so important, and that's why I'll make my point at, is the element of how to respectfully communicate.
Yes.
That tone, tenor, presentation, all those things matter, even though we marry. That still matters. Your tone when you come, because you can say all the wonderful things you want to say, but if your tone is up here, we're gonna have a problem, because all I
who
hear
are you talking to?
Look.
Right.
So that dynamic of it, we were just going to Sam's today and laughing at each other, because it's like, she don't like how I tell my details. It's like, you're talking backwards. It's like, that's how I communicate. That's how I talk. It ain't changed none, but how she communicates is like, oh my Lord, okay. Okay, I didn't forget. You didn't got me to the middle of the story. I forgot the beginning because you didn't gave me too much detail. Let me write this down, or let me record you so I can go back and review this and get all these details. So much so to our oldest son is the same way. Got to know all the details. Okay, so if we're gonna be 2 o'clock, we're gonna go somewhere. What we doing from 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock, and from 11 to 12 to 12 to 1, 1 to 2. We ain't got to do all that.
And then what time we leaving? To get there too, what time we leaving?
It's like, but you have to know your spouse. A lot of our communication, sometimes it's body language, facial expression. My wife communicates more, I won't say more, a lot with her facials. Where I can know what she's saying with her facials, where sometimes I have to remind her, babe, you okay? Yeah. Well, tell your face. Tell your face you're all right. Fix your face, boo-boo. So knowing your spouse, it's like, oh my God, she will tell it, just look at her. Just turn this way then. Just turn this way so people can't see you and they won't know, at least. So being able to know that part, and then being able to, even for those things that you're passionate about, those things that are affecting you in, hard ways, but still, because this is the person who I love, this is my partner, this is, in my case as a man, this is the mother of my children, and I'm teaching my sons how to handle a woman, how to love a woman by what I do with their mother.
Yeah.
So ain't no name
Yes.
calling up in here.
Yeah.
We ain't calling names. Listen, it's like, at the end, our communication is respectful. Even if it has to be where, okay, right now, we ain't gonna communicate because it ain't gonna come out right, ain't gonna be received right, or we gonna create a bigger problem in communicating wrong. So those dynamics are all to be kind of considered, because I think in the contemporary culture that we're in, our need to be heard sometimes presses us, where at the end, but it's not the time for you to communicate that, because you can't communicate that right now in the right tone.
Right.
And what is important won't be heard because how you're delivering it. And so that's I think one of the most important elements about how we communicate as it relates to, we're gonna be respectful. And for us, we're learning after being together all these years. It's like, where most people say, y'all be completing each other. Say, no, we don't. We be talking over each other and we trying to tell each other, okay, wait a minute. I'm trying to finish my story. And then you can come back and talk. And we do it to each other. So we correct each other. No, let me finish communicating. So all of those things, again, working in sync with your partner to know your mate.
Yes.
In that regard.
No, I love that. And I hope that the married couples out there and the engaged couples, I hope you guys had your pen and paper and that you were taking notes, because this was really, really good. Like, I love this conversation. I was looking at the time and all the other questions I had. We have to have you guys back on our show because it's really good, sound marital advice that married couples, I think it just brings you back to the center of who you are individually and who you are as a married couple. And Bishop, you said this to me and Mitchell one time. This might have been maybe 4 years ago, maybe, if my time is right, but we were just having a general conversation, but I never forgot it, how God brings certain people together, and you were talking about the gifts that he had and the gifts that I had and how they complement each other. That's really how I see you and Lady Ira, like your gifts, complement each other. And as you were talking, I was like, this could expand. Like, this talk on marriage could really expand, because what you're saying is so key and so vital. And I think that it's really good as we're ending a year and beginning a new year for couples. You said it best, to recenter and reset together in the direction that we're going. And I know that Kiran has enjoyed this conversation as much as I have.
Yes.
So we have to ask you guys before we let you go. We have a signature question, 2 signature questions we ask all our guests before we let them leave our podcast. So I'm going to toss it back to you, Kiran. You can ask the questions however you want to ask them, but we have to get your opinion on friendships.
Yes. So my question to you all are, so this is outside of marriage. This is in friendships. Yes, this is in friendships. What are some of your green flags in friendships to let you know that you have actually met someone that, yes, I can be friends with him or her? We want to hear from both of y'all. Bishop, Lady, either one can go first.
For me, it's, what do we have in common?
Okay.
What do we have in common that connects us?
That's good.
So that you're able to we can relate to each other.
That's good. That's good.
That's good.
Is it a give and take?
Okay.
What do they bring to the table?
What you here for?
Absolutely. The chemistry. Those things are, green flags.
Yeah.
Good conversation. What we had, the commonalities, what we have in common.
Now I'm like, y'all looking at each other like y'all talking about each other. I'm saying, like, so this is
friend. Because when you talk about a friend, you're talking about that's an intimate relationship.
Yeah.
Access to you. So you
Yeah.
definitely want to make sure that there is some level of camaraderie, there is some level of trust,
Yeah.
definitely
Yes.
something that you can build on, that I ain't got to worry
Yes.
about you going out spreading and telling my business if you
Yes.
need,
Yes.
you know. So those are some of the red flags, you know. So
Especially in our line of work, being,
Oh,
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
married to pastors, you being
Yes.
married to your husband is a chairman of the board, you in
Yeah.
business and things of that nature. It's like, that compatibility piece I think is important because everybody can't relate with the level of what comes with being our friends.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
Absolutely.
good.
What comes with being our
Mhm.
And that's a big
Yeah.
word. When you call somebody your friend, you're saying a lot about that person.
Yes.
That is not something that I take loosely as a title to say that, because again, they have access,
Yeah.
you know, into your life. And that could be a good thing or it could be a bad thing.
Yeah.
So definitely something to, you know, make sure that that is safeguarded.
I would
That's good.
imagine it would be tough as Kira and I, we have this conversation quite a bit, you know, with her and her husband, and you, Bishop and Lady Brackett. I would imagine it's tough to build friendships because you like, what's the motive behind
Yeah.
it, and you know what I'm saying, and like you said, like what are they trying to get out of it, and then it's so private, you know, letting people into your lives, being careful what you say and how you
Yes.
say it. So I imagine it would be pretty hard, and I know both of you already pretty have a strong friend group anyway, but are you open to allowing, you know, new relationships to build? Are both of you open to that? And how do you determine if you meet someone new, especially Bishop, you meet people all the time. How do you determine like, this is a friendship I really want to explore, or you know what, this is just an
association.
associate? Yeah. Yeah. How do you make that determination?
Time, because friendships are intentional. There's a level of intentionality that goes into that. That, you know, if it's like the best thing I can bring to mind is like my relationship with Dwight Gunn or Anthony Spencer. You know, it's like, you know, even tonight, some of the things that we're in together, I'm getting texts. It's like, don't forget this, we doing this. It's this level of intentionality where it's not always about even our communication, because whereas with a Gun, I may talk to 2-3 times in 1 week and then not for 2 weeks. Spencer, I may talk to once a month. But the element of our friendship and our bond is strong to whereas at the end, it's almost going to be like we didn't talk every day.
Right.
So, but that has come from years and time being invested in conversations and connections and, you know, the challenges of life that we've endured together and gone through together. I'm always open to new relationships and new friends. The challenge in that though is in the line of work we're in, it's like, you know, it can be hard. I'll say it like that. It can be hard because again, I have to protect my peace. I have to protect my family. I have to protect, you know, there's an element of protecting your reputation, because sometimes your guilt of association can be just as damaging if you actually would have done it. So, you know, those things where I don't want to spend 2 years trying to clean up something that I'm not guilty of just because, but by the same token, I don't want to discard her because of her reputation and what people will say. So it's like, it's a delicate balance. There's some spiritual elements to that, but there's a whole lot of practical things that go along with that, because friendships are built with time. It's like, you know, and that is something where you just got to be intentional about. And that's hard. That's hard because again, you're trying to do life. You're trying to take care of your house. You're trying to take care of your children, raise your children. And these children got busier schedules than us. It's like, you know, so at the end, you know, long story short, that element of we're always open because our circle is very small. When we moved to Indiana and spent those years out there, that was a huge change for us, disconnected us from a lot of things that we were intricately involved with because we were so far away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even though in coming back, some of those things we didn't re-engage.
Mhm.
And in others, it's like, some of it proved to be a benefit because we learned who really was and who really was not. So, again, I'm open to it, but it's that's another show.
I know. I was gonna say.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm
Mhm.
sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm learning this though. I'll say this in my closing. This is my third and final closing. That one of the things I've been preaching to my colleagues, my associates, my friends, is that I'm praying for the day when we who walk this road with these assignments and this responsibility will know that we are all we have.
Absolutely.
Don't
Yes.
nobody understand the weight of this, but
Yes.
those who have the responsibility of carrying this.
Mhm.
It's not to say anything about the people who love us. It's not to say anything about our family who love us
Yeah.
and concern. But unless you have the responsibility of really having to do this work, there's a
Mhm.
part to this that only people who do it can really understand it. And for that reason, that should make our ability to walk together as brothers and sisters a little bit more easier.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we got some of the same wounds.
Mhm. Mhm.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. I just think though, Bishop, even with your saying that, though the assignment is the same, the personalities are still different.
So true. So true.
I mean,
So
we,
true.
we have the same assignment, but you still nasty, you still got an attitude, you still cocky, you're still stuck up, though we're still doing the Lord's work.
Right.
But the personalities are, are different. So I think that's why a lot of times people don't connect or come together, or it's a select few. Like we can get together, we could talk about church and what your church doing. And yeah, we doing it. Oh, that's a good idea. But outside of that, we have nothing in common.
That commonality.
I think it goes back to the personalities
That's
of
good.
everyone, but always
That's good.
still being open to who God wants you to be connected with.
Yeah.
Taking a step back. That's what I've had to learn, to take a step back, because I can be very closed in. I'm an introvert by nature. I've given myself this own definition. I am a extrovert introvert. Like I can turn it on and turn it off.
Okay.
At home, I can be in my room by myself with my iPad and my book and my Sudoku puzzles, and my family is outside of my room like, girl, mama, what you doing? But that's just me. But when I get to church, I can turn it on. Hey, I can kiss the babies, greet the mamas, talk to everybody. But then after a while, those people skills, they start coming on down. And I am ready to shut it down.
Right.
But yes, I'm with you, Bishop, as far as having the same assignment, the same goal. And then even just with people of God. Yeah. Like we all supposed to be out here loving on each other. I don't have to like you, but we're supposed to be out here loving on one another. We're supposed to love everybody. And it does seem like the connection should be a little bit easier, but none of us are perfect.
Absolutely.
None of us are perfect, but we do have to be open with who God wants us to connect with. Amen. Well, so I thank you all. Look, I said amen on that. Yes, y'all know we love God on this podcast. We love the Lord. We can try not to mention him, but we just cannot, because he is in us. But again, besties out there, I hope you all were taking notes and writing down this wisdom and this advice that Bishop Brackett and Lady Ira has instilled into us, into Irene and myself. If we got something, we know y'all got something out there as well. So make sure you go back and you write these notes down, and you take them in prayer and ask God, like, okay, where can I use this? What changes do I need to make? And remember, when it comes to improving your marriage, Bishop Brackett and Lady Ira both said you have to start with yourself first. So engaged couples, those who are desiring to get married, make sure you are working on yourself before you take that step. And then it's not too late for those of you all who are already married begin to work on yourself. It's not always him right there, and it's not always her over there. No, it's you, boo. It's you.
Right.
Take a step back and find out what things you actually need to work on an individual basis. We always saying, change him, Lord. No, change me, Lord, first. Help me to work on me first. And that's what we really have to do. We have to work on ourselves. And I do believe, I'm a believer that when God starts working on you, you'll begin to see the change. Because some of that stuff that used to tick you off, and I know people don't like to use the word piss, but piss you off, it don't do the same to you anymore. You're handling things just a little bit different because God is working inside of you. So again, Bishop Brackett, Lady Ira, love you all. Thank you all for your wisdom. Yes, yes, yes. And besties, again, make sure that you share this, that you follow us on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok. Look, subscribe to Spotify, to iHeartRadio, to Amazon. We are on it all. Make sure you follow us and then invite some others to follow us as well. Until next time, we thank you all. Our besties, have a good day.
Bye.